Hey beautiful women, namaste, welcome. Today I'm going to be sharing and transmitting around the theme of sacred wounds and sexy shadows. I am really excited about this. This is such an important theme for me, for you, for all of us, and I love talking about this theme because it's just so important for us all on our awakening journey. So super welcome. And just as a little kind of framing to remind you that this series of transmissions is all about the Living Shakti Awake program that I'm launching this year, January 2022, and I'm talking each day about one of the themes that are part of the workshop series that is a part of that program. So there's an evolutionary sister circle, that's one part, and the other strand of the Living Shakti Awake program is a series of 9 workshops. So Sacred Wounds and Sexy Shadows is the second workshop in the first semester, and the first semester theme for 3 months is me and God, Goddess as one. Yesterday I spoke about embodying Shakti as the first workshop. The second workshop's theme today that I'm going to speak about, sacred wounds and sexy shadows. Super welcome. So let's just take a moment before I launch into more of my transmission for today to tune in. Going to guide you in, so be with me here. Going to close our eyes together. Take some deeper breaths. Feel ourselves alive inside our physical bodies, our beautiful physical bodies. And just enter in more fully, more deeply to your body, to your here and now, to all that you're sensing, to all that you're feeling, to all that is alive and moving in you, around you. Every aspect, let it all be here, sitting here with you. Be present. Notice your breath. Notice the earth, the ground beneath you, holding, supporting, presencing you as you now presence yourself. And as you breathe in and out, following the flow of your breath in and out of your body, just this morning, notice the quality of your breath without changing it. Just notice it. How is your breath today? Notice what arises for you when I say the words sacred wounds and sexy shadows. What response is there in your body to those words? And whatever your response is, it is welcome. Welcome it. Embrace it. In embracing that response, you're embracing yourself. All is welcome. Bringing hands to the heart in prayer pose, symbol and a sense of unity and self-embrace. Take another breath here at the heart. Full deep breath in, full deep breath out, welcoming yourself. Namaste. The divine in me bows to the divine in you. Okay. So excited to talk about this subject. Sacred wounds and sexy shadows. I'm going to talk about 3 causes, 3 grounds for this, and how that impacts our life, and how we've got everything topsy-turvy. And when we shift around this topsy-turvy notion of our sinfulness, of our guilt, of our shame, of our badness, that's when we really tap into our soul gifts and our spiritual blossoming. In fact, that is a fundamental part of our spiritual blossoming. And in Tantra, the way of union, just like yoga, the way of union, the blending, the merging, the marrying of opposites in the central place. That is exactly what this path of self-realization is about, the integration of light and dark. So let's start. Well, one factor that I want to start with is religion and all kinds of belief systems that set up the notion, the belief that some things are good and some things are bad, that some things are sinful and some things are very holy. So we create this sense of division and separation and labeling certain actions and certain behaviors as good and holy and righteous, and others as the very opposite of that, even demarcating certain behaviors and thoughts and qualities as evil, and that's where that association between darkness and evil comes from religion. Okay, so that's one framing that creates these wounds and these shadows within us. The second framing, of course they're all connected, they're not really separate, is our parenting, is our childhood, is being parented by parents who were themselves programmed and conditioned, right? Who were doing the best they could. This is not about blaming anyone. And because of that programming and that conditioning and that belief in those belief systems of good and bad, that was not only passed on to you, but you very quickly learned that in most cases, love was conditional. Conditional upon you conforming to certain types of behavior that were rewarded and certain types of behavior that were not rewarded, that were punished. Maybe consciously punished or maybe unconsciously punished, such as in the withdrawal of love, time, attention and affection if you didn't behave the way your parents or your caregivers wanted you to behave. This is not to blame anyone, this is just to explain so we understand why we end up the way we end up and why it's all a blessing. So this is not about anything being bad. Okay, so we have religion and cultural beliefs. We have our parenting and our family system. So the religious and cultural beliefs create guilt and shame. We're not born with those guilt and shame. They're created by those cultural and religious beliefs. Our parenting, our caregiving, our childhood creates wounds and shadows because we learn very, very young that to receive love and attention, which we need to thrive and survive, we have to mold our behavior a certain way. So we begin to create unconsciously, not consciously, a false self. It's not a real self anymore, it's a false self that learns I have to do this to get that. And basically that false self is only interested in surviving, right? So then the third part, so there are three parts to this. The third part is, of course, then as we grow and mature and move through life, shit happens, baby. Shit happens. Things that we cannot control, surprises, shocks, traumas, events, disasters happen. They're out of our control. Shit happens. And as a result of that, we may experience trauma. We may experience wounding. That then is compounded upon these other layers of shame and guilt, these other layers of the false self. So then we have this whole construction of parts of ourselves that we have learned to hide because we feel ashamed of them. We think they're wrong. We think they make us a bad, unworthy person. There's no such thing, by the way. So we've learned to hide. We've learned to turn away from these wounds and these shadows and pretend they don't exist. We learn to deny, repress, and not show the parts of us that we think are really ugly and unattractive because we feel so ashamed of them, right? That's what happens to pretty much everybody. So we're all going around hiding the parts that we're ashamed of, the parts that we don't want anyone else to see, and the parts that hurt. Because one of these things have happened in our lives, particularly when we're very, very young, we weren't able to process, we weren't able to understand, we weren't able to reason and have compassion and insight. We weren't able to. And so things happened that really hurt our young body, psyche and energy body. And that hurt, if not expressed in a healthy way, and if not held in a healthy way, stays in the physical body, stays in the energy body. It remains there until we're willing and able to feel it, right? So it stays there. We hide. We don't want people to see. And these shadows aren't called shadows because they're bad. They're called shadows because we can't see them, and we don't want anyone else to see them, because we become so accustomed to repressing, hiding and denying. We even do that to ourselves. So we stop being able to see these parts of ourselves because it's too painful, too difficult. We feel too ashamed. We feel perhaps too traumatized, right? The whole point of the awakening journey is to bring all of this back into the light, and to bring all of this back home to love, in the recognition that we have never been wrong, we have never been bad, we have never been guilty, there's nothing to be ashamed of. We're pure, we're perfect, we're immaculate from beginning to end. It's only the belief systems that create this inner separation from ourselves, and this pretense, showing up with a bit of a fake persona. The greatest irony is that we're conditioned to think that those parts of us that we've been denying, hiding and running away from are bad, right? The biggest irony is that we are far more likely to do wrong to ourselves or to others, so long as we continue to repress, hide and run away from those shadows and wounds and traumas. So long as we hide, repress, deny, run away from, we are more likely to do harm to ourselves or others. A key example, which of course is glaring us in the face and has done for years, is look at the church, look at the Catholic Church, look at where sexuality is denied, hidden, repressed, shamed. Look at the levels of sexual abuse that happen there. It's a direct correlation, okay? And you will each have your own individual examples in your own personal life. So we need to flip this paradigm around, just like in my book, Rapture, A Guide to Sexual and Spiritual Awakening for Women. In my book, the second chapter is called Everything You've Been Taught is a Lie. So this is one of the lies, and we flip it around. We flip it around and we recognize, oh my gosh, it's in seeing, bringing into the light, owning, embracing and loving, feeling, being willing to feel all of these previously denied, shut down, repressed, hidden aspects of myself, that I claim my power, that I become more authentic, that I have more compassion, that I become closer and closer to embodying unconditional love, truly, that I become more secure and attractive. Yeah, here's the big one, and I know this is really big for so many women, me included, because we are conditioned to believe that there are parts of us that are so unattractive, nobody's going to love us. So unattractive, nobody's going to love us because of these parts of ourselves, whether that's parts of our physical body, that's very common for women, right? Parts of our psyche, parts of our past that we're so ashamed of and guilty about. We think nobody's going to love us, so we hide those aspects. Guess what happens when we hide those aspects? It makes us less attractive and more likely to project those rejected parts of ourselves onto the other. That creates conflict and discord in any relationship. So basically, here's a beautiful tagline I came up with this morning as I was kind of writing out some notes for today's transmission. What you reject, you project. What you reject in yourself, you project onto others. Taking full responsibility as an adult, your world is your own creation. Your relationships are your own creation. What you reject in yourself, you project into others. Projections get in the way of clear seeing. Projections get in the way of unconditional loving relationships. So we need to be able to see what we're doing. So that requires us to be willing to feel, to look, to own, to speak the things we've been ashamed to speak, to feel the things we've felt afraid to feel because we think they're going to be so bloody painful they might kill us. They won't. They'll liberate you, right? And the biggest revelation of all is that it's in these deepest, darkest, most hidden aspects of ourselves, in our deepest, darkest wounds, in our traumas, in our darkest night of the soul. There, right there, is the diamond. There, right there, is the pearl of your divine gifts, of your soul's calling, of your soul's purpose, of what you're here for in this lifetime. Without those experiences, you could not become the person you have the potential to be. And every single soul on this planet has a unique configuration of just the right wounds, traumas, conditionings, programmings, pains, hurts, slights, betrayals, abandonments. We've all had them. Everyone has the perfect configuration to fulfill a potential coded into your soul from the moment you incarnated. And the question is, are you ready to claim that potential? To liberate yourself, to liberate your soul, to shine in the world living your purpose, your divine gifts, which is what I'm going to speak about tomorrow, because these workshops flow one into the other. We explore, we excavate, we feel, we meet our shadows, our wounds. And in that meeting, we unfurl and recognize our divine gifts. These are gifts. They are not a curse. They are gifts. Again, flipping the lies of the patriarchal programming, the matrix programming, which is designed to disempower, to dissociate, to disconnect. We come right back in and meet all of it, and we transmute and transform it in and through the body, in and through the womb space, in and through the heart, in and through deeper levels of consciousness that we cultivate through the body, right? So that is why your wounds are sacred, sacred, holy. We reframe sacred wounds, sexy shadows, sexy for a whole host of reasons. In one way, because when you fully embrace these aspects of yourself that you've previously denied and pushed into the shadows, that have remained in the dark because you weren't able to or didn't have the skills or the capability yet to acknowledge them, to see them, to welcome them, right? When they finally begin to come home, you become more whole, more alive. Do you know how much sexual energy, or if that word doesn't resonate for you, because for me that is just life force energy, how much life force energy it takes to sit on your wounds, to contain your traumas, to hide your shadows? Do you know how rigid and constricted your body becomes? It's written in your physical body. It's written in your energy body. You cannot open to your fullest sexual and spiritual potential when all of this gunk is held and stuck in your body. Impossible. And there's this relation, so you become more lit up, more radiant, more alive, the more courageously you embrace your shadows and your wounds. Not the other way around. It's all a lie. You become more, not less. And there's this two-way process. So as you meet, you open, more comes. And as your Shakti rises, she will organically bring to your attention that which you have been denying until now, that which was hidden until now, that which you've been repressing until now. She's going to bring it up for you to see with love, sometimes with very, very piercing clarity. She'll be knocking on your door, she'll be knocking on your heart, she'll be bursting through your yoni until you have no choice but to let her in and welcome this tide of transformational energy, the intelligence of awakening, right? So let's not be afraid of our darkness. Let us dive into the darkness with eagerness, with love, with devotion, with compassion, recognizing that there's nothing to be afraid of here, nothing. And this is where our potential lies. It is right in the heart of the darkness that our deepest, deepest potential lies, in unlocking all that we're here for, and in descending into the darkness to such a degree that we are able to expand our consciousness into the depths of the all, where we are able to recognize that we are both the waves on the surface and we are the ocean. We are the ocean and we are the waves. We are the depth. We are the container. We are all of existence, and we are everything that is manifesting in existence. And through the tantric practices of embodiment, of awakening, this capacity to know ourselves as more than this little I is expanded more and more and more. So we have capacity to witness. We have capacity to hold space. We have the capacity to be present when deep, dark emotion erupts. And we feel it fully. We're not denying our feelings, but we have the capacity to witness and presence and allow, rather than turning and running away from. And then look what happens. Here are all these emotional waves happening. There's nothing to hold it. Come back. Presence. And then everything is welcome, right? And as we turn these waves of energy, of emotion, of deep hurts that may surface, they'll come like waves, and then they'll go, they'll come, and then they'll go. We return them. We return them back to source, back into the depths, back into the all where they come from. And then we make space for something new to emerge. We can only make space for something new to be born through us when we clear, when we empty out. Right? Does that make sense? So on this tantric path, there is no judgment. Everything is included. There is no, you're a naughty girl, you're a bad girl. Oh, that's so sinful. There's none of that. Thank the goddess. None of that. Everything is included. Everything is welcomed. Because at its ultimate, when we return, and we are able to, and this is a tantric practice, we return all the way to source. We're able to trace, for example, an emotion all the way back to source. We're able to trace a thought all the way back to source. We're able to feel a pain fully and merge it with the felt embodied sense of source consciousness. then what we experience, and here comes the sexy part again, is bliss, ecstasy, orgasmicness, unity, oneness, peace. From the darkest depths, from the most horrendous pain, from the most all-encompassing suffering, all of this is possible. It requires the courage to feel, to go there, the patience to drop, the dedication to practice, the allowing and the accepting, and the letting go of these old programs of sinfulness, of guilt, of shame, right? Each opening, each surge of Shakti through our bodies, bringing more to life, bringing Tantra to life. This process never ends. It's a spiral that just continues on and on and on. And so we open more, we feel more, we embody more, we shine more, more real, more authentic, more naked, truly naked in our beingness. And then we can meet in a different way with other souls, because then we begin to see clearly without all this projection happening. Of course, it's still going to happen, but we are more conscious of it happening, so we see it, we catch it, we notice it. We can pull back our projections and own them. We can own our shadows, we can own our wounds and recognize the gifts inherent in them and the power inherent in them. They are not, as we have been taught, a weakness. Such a lie that our wounds and shadows are a weakness or a wrongness. They are the source of our power and our light. We cannot have one without the other. Just to give you a concrete example, I would not be doing what I do in the world right now. I would not be showing up in the world right now in the way that I do, so passionately following my soul's calling, if I had not chosen, because I believe this is how it works. I believe that we choose where we're born, to whom we're born. I could not be this if I had not chosen to be born into a family that was the very embodiment of the archetypal immature masculine and feminine right there. The wounded masculine, the wounded feminine, the dark masculine, the patriarch and the victim, right? Bullying, tyrant, victim, the wounded victim, disempowered. Both disempowered actually, but this one thinking he was empowered when really he was not. Both of them disempowered. The patriarchy disempowers both men and women equally. It's not a case of men oppressing women, although that's what it's felt like. Both men and women oppressed by that belief system. So that's what I was born into, and of course then my life turned into the healing of those wounds, the searching for authentic relationship, the discovery of Tantra and everything that then unfolded. I could not be who I am and be showing up as I am now and being able to hold the space that I hold now as a facilitator, as a guide, teacher and healer, if it were not for the fact that I've been in an abusive relationship, that I have felt so lacking in self-worth many times in my life, that I've sometimes felt close to giving up on life, that I've been so hopeless and down on my knees and desperate, right? I could not be the one holding this space now if I had not navigated those situations. And I could not be who I am now if I had not had the courage to admit, even recently to one of my mentors, that I felt like I wanted to murder somebody. Right? Can you imagine how it feels to speak those words and to own that impulse in myself? I cried and cried and cried, but you know, it was true in that moment that I had felt that impulse. And how beautiful it was to be met in that and to meet myself in that. and uncover through the tantric practices that I know and that I was guided in by my mentor to reclaim another aspect of my power, because that's what it was really about. It was about my own disempowerment and the need to reclaim another element of my power. Always, 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 in the tantric way, it comes back to you. It's a path of self-realization. So everything in life is a mirror for you to recognize the divinity, the wholeness, the love, the beauty, the oneness in you. And as you do that, of course, you see it in the world and in others, right? Until maybe from time to time, or maybe the whole time, you truly, truly, truly see and know you are another me. I bow to the divine in you, which is the same as the divine in me. Yeah. So that's where I'm going to end this transmission, in hands at my heart, in namaste to myself, loving myself, fucking loving myself, because I'm fucking amazing, and all that I am. And in the same way, bowing to you, because I know we've all been through stuff. We've all been through dark nights, and we're all amazing, each and every one of us. So let's just bow to ourselves in our hearts and our minds. Thanks for being with me. Just a little reminder that tonight, Wednesday, the 5th of January, 6 p.m, I'm hosting an introductory evening online on Zoom for any woman who is called to know more about this Living Shakti Awake program, whether you're called to the Sister Circle that starts next Wednesday, the 12th of January, or to the workshop series that starts on the 29th of January, or to both. You're so welcome to come along. No cost, no obligation, but if you're truly called to know more and to sit in this space, come and join us. I'll post the info to get the link below, and I'll post the link to the Living Shakti Awake program below as well. Well, in fact, the link to come onto the call tonight is on the webpage for the Living Shakti Awake program. That's me for today. Thank you. Lots of love, and I'm excited to see you tomorrow as I'm going to be speaking about divine gifts. Namaste, beautiful women.